Welcome to NYPC.
Bits and Bytes.
My name is Steve McGraw.
And I'm Mary Ginsburg.
And we're going to talk a little bit about computers today, computer technology. And who else are we talking to today, Mary?
We're talking to Pat McEvoy, who's going to discuss how to keep all of your electronic gizmos charged while you're on the road or on the run.
Great. And I'm going to be talking to Dario about Java. Do you know much about Java?
Very little. I know that it's an extremely powerful programming language that's cross-platform and is growing in popularity.
Yeah, I really know nothing about it, so I am looking forward to talking with him.
That should be good. Do you have your coffee with you?
Yeah, the Java, right, good. And also, NYPC, which you're going to be discussing in a second, has a general meeting once a month.
Exactly, yes.
And I couldn't make it, but last month was Alfred Poor.
Discussing high-definition television.
Okay.
How to choose it, what it is, what the various techniques are. It was a wonderful presentation, very technical, very mind-boggling. It makes you think, wow, do I...
We just want to turn it on and turn it off.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, we will be cutting to that between the segments.
Great.
And the other person we're going to talk to is you.
Okay.
You're going to talk about the difference between Photoshop and Photoshop Elements.
Right.
All right. Now, first let's talk about the price. I have Photoshop CS2, and I think it was very expensive. $600-700, am I correct?
Yes, yes.
And Photoshop Elements?
Is $109.
Yeah, I mean, the difference, and is it really worth it?
For some people, yes. Definitely for professional photographers, for graphics artists who want to enhance, for those who want to enhance photographs and turn them into real art. For an amateur digital photographer who just wants to tweak the photographs.
Take red eye out.
Take red eye out, make up a nice digital album.
Right.
Send emails to the grandparents. All they
That's
need
all
is,
they need.
That's all they need
Photoshop,
is elements.
It has a learning curve.
It has a much steeper learning curve. The nice thing about Photoshop Elements, however, is that what you learn in Elements can be applied directly to Photoshop. I teach both Photoshop Elements and Photoshop, and I'd say about a third to a half of the people I teach Elements eventually go on to Photoshop. And it's great because by learning Elements, the levels, the curves, the adjustments, the color, hue and saturation, that's applied directly to Photoshop.
You need that
so they've already learned.
You know what a pixel is.
Exactly.
And I see you've got Photoshop CS3 extended here. Now, obviously, this is the newest one out.
Yes.
And you said this,
and it's a trial version.
This is your trial version.
Yes.
Now, first off, what is extended? I've never even heard of that. And I've got Photoshop CS2.
Right. Extended it's a totally new approach by Adobe that's oriented toward researchers and professionals in geology, biology, and other such areas.
Your background is biology?
Mine is biology, yes. And I certainly think I could have used it when I was working on my thesis, but it wasn't there then. But it enables you to do image analysis, to make measurements between areas in the photograph, to calculate volumes of areas in the photograph, to do some 3D rendering. It sounds very powerful.
Most people, if you're really just into your photographs and really tweaking them to get the best out of them and all, you wouldn't really need that then.
Exactly, right. But I think that once people learn about it, I think it's going to be very big in the scientific community.
Sure. Why don't you show us a little of the interface here?
Okay. The interface you see here is the typical Photoshop interface, which is, by the way, at this level, very similar to Elements. We have a photograph, and we work in layers. Layers are very important because you can find, you can work in non-destructively.
You'll never hurt that photograph that's there.
Exactly.
You can change its color of the trees to blue.
Right, and you haven't...
I was going to say green, but then that would be kind of silly.
Right, yeah, it's already green, right. But, and you can And you can also, by piling layers on top of each other, affect the layers underneath. And so it's a wonderful aspect of actually all of the $100 and on up photo enhancement programs.
Now, I see you have levels now. So what you're going to try to do, because the photograph on this monitor looks a little bit dark.
It is, actually.
And so now you have levels up here with it. This is called a histogram?
This is a histogram. The dark tones are represented on the left, mid-tones in the middle, and the light tones on the right.
So most of the pixels are over there on the left, which means they're dark.
Exactly.
So now you got to try to get some of them over.
So the way to do it by eye, there are more scientific ways to do it by measuring where the light tones come in, the dark tones, but I won't show that today. But one way to do it by eye is to take the light tone marker and just drag it to the left, and that you can see.
I can see it's lighting it right now.
It's becoming lighter.
So it's making all the pixels to the right of it lighter.
It's actually, yes. It's cutting out the. It's moving the light. It's making
all the pixels
that were there. It's shifting everything to the right, toward the light area.
Okay.
Now, this is the mid-tone. Darkening them by moving it to the right.
Right.
Lightening it. And then the dark pixels, if I really...
Sure, it's going to blacken it.
It blackens it totally.
Sure. And you do this visually
you can
until
do
you're relatively happy?
Yes. You can do it visually. You can use a layer called thresholds to actually measure where the light tones come in and where the dark tones come in and insert those numbers here. You can also, I just did a reset.
I saw you held down the Alt key and
hit cancel.
If you hit the Alt key, it turns into
a reset. So it takes it back to where it was.
Okay.
You can select an eyedropper.
Right.
This is the dark tone eyedropper, and you can find an area that you think should be black.
Should be
the darkest.
The darkest, okay.
If you choose, and you notice there's a change.
Sure, it shifted a lot of things. So it made every pixel like that, all black across the board.
Yes, it selected the ones that should be black and lightened the others. Then you can go to something that should be light.
Which could be the clouds or the sky, but I don't know. That's going to be...
If you choose the wrong thing, you can get really weird.
Yeah, exactly. Or very artistic, actually.
Or artistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's call it artistic.
We'll
didn't
call
make a
this
mistake.
artistic.
There are no mistakes.
This is a great work of art.
Right.
Slightly impressionist. Once again, if I do the reset...
Let's just get some model, because we do have to move on. So let's just show them one, and then how we can turn it off on the layer.
Okay. Let me go back to doing it by
just
visually.
Just get it in a ballpark of what you think is representative of the actual photograph.
Right. A little bit this way. And there are guidelines. You want to go to the edge of the histogram for the dark and the light.
Well, they got to go to your SIGs to learn that.
Absolutely right.
All right.
Okay, so let's take this. I say okay.
Okay.
So now this adjustment layer,
which is above, it's called background, which is the actual picture.
The background is the actual picture. The adjustment layer, which is the top layer, is automatically named levels. If I turn it off, it goes back to where it was. And what's very interesting and very useful is if I had done a whole series of photographs that were slightly off in terms of the contrast, but off to the same degree. Say I had the wrong
shot them the same day.
Same day with the same camera settings. Right. I could drag and drop this adjustment layer onto the other photographs, and it would make these same adjustments.
That'd speed things up, wouldn't it?
Really speed things up.
Well, great. Thanks, Mary. And I think now we should go to the general meeting that you went about Alfred Poor and show a little bit about that.
That would be great.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
So where do we start with? Well, the obvious first question is, what is HDTV? All right, basically, you don't have HDTV unless you have three things. You need a higher resolution display, you need a higher resolution signal, and you need higher resolution content. The display, the signal, and the content. If you don't have one of those three, you don't have HDTV. And that sounds a little silly, but understand that more than half of the people in this country who have HDTVs don't watch HDTV because they don't have it. They have the set, but they don't have the other two parts. And most of them don't know that they don't have it. Yeah, it's true. So let's talk about it. High resolution display. The traditional screen, if you think about your computer monitor, your Philco color console television sitting in the living room, it's got a 4:3 aspect ratio. 4 units wide for 3 units tall. Okay? HDTV has a wider format. The idea is to give you a more cinematic experience. So it's more panoramic. And the proportions typically are 16 wide to 9 tall. I know 4:3, it sounds like they ought to be the same, but they're not. If you work it out, it really comes out this way. So in general, you'll find that the HDTVs have a 16:9 ratio of in their dimensions. Not all wide screens are HDTV, however. Okay, you need to have enough pixels to show high definition. Standard definition television, again, your Philco in the living room, standard definition television is roughly 640 by 480. And I say roughly because NTSC, which is the analog standard definition broadcast signal, has blanking, and they use pieces of the image that you can't see on the screen, and there's stuff going on behind. But for our purposes, 640 by 480 will work.
Welcome, Patrick.
How we doing?
Good. The last time you were here, you were talking about Skype, and you brought in a lot of gadgets.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you go out in the field. You're with these gadgets. The first thing that happens is
they run out of power.
Okay. So now you've solved that problem.
I'm hoping to. Yes.
Okay.
There are a couple of different units on the market. One, a lot of them have disposable batteries. You use it, and then so you charge up your cell phone.
Sure.
Once you use it's a one charge thing, and then you toss it out. I don't like that. It's not green. It's
right.
Not,
sure.
It's
a
not what I'm looking for. So there's actually a New York-based company.
Right.
Started by a girl who graduated from woman who graduated from MIT. Who has designed a bunch of different things, and it's actually a really cool little company because they have kits. So you remember back in the day when you had the little electronic kits and you made the sounds that sound like jet engines and stuff like that?
Sure.
Well, this is the adult version of it,
okay.
in my mind, that allows you get a little circuit board, and then you solder the little parts onto it. You can purchase the units built. However, it's not as much of a challenge.
Did you make this yourself?
Yeah, I made it myself. But it's really neat.
So this was your canister. This was your case.
Yeah, it's
very
an
nice.
Altoid.
And so what's inside of it?
It's really neat. It's a cool little. It's 2 AA batteries connected to a little PC board.
Right.
Let's just get this shot in here.
Okay, excellent. Yeah,
and
I can see it now. It's up on
right
screen.
Here and it just all fits. It's designed to fit.
So you buy this and this?
Yeah, it's for $19, and the shipping is very quick. It's based here in New York.
And this connection here.
Yep, this connection here is a simple USB connection, and with all the devices nowadays, see there it is there.
Right.
All the devices nowadays have USB connections on them for charging them. This works with, I have one of those palm-based.
So all you do is pop this in and it charges your battery.
Yeah, you just have a simple USB connection cable. Click it in here, click the other end into your phone.
Well, that is amazing.
Yeah, you can be backpacking and charging your phone at the exact same time instead of being, locked to, charging it via the car charger or, doing it back at the hotel room. If you're camping, there is no hotel room and there is no car. This allows you to do that.
Well, that is really amazing.
It's really neat.
And they have a website too.
They have a website. It's called adafruit.com.
Okay.
So we'll probably hear it is there.
Oh, wonderful.
And it's a really, I like it. You can, you have the challenge of making these devices because you can put them together yourselves. And it's very easy. If you've never soldered before, they have all the tips and how-tos about soldering, keeping the solder tip clean, all this kind of stuff. Lots of really great advice. This is a really good little starter program because I mean it's something. It's literally like just a couple of parts.
Sure. Yeah. It's not. You can see it's not many parts whatsoever.
Yeah. And they have very good instructions on how to put it together. You put it together in I put that together in about half hour, and yeah, I've been using it. I've used it to charge my cell phone when I was camping last weekend. Used it to charge my cell phone when I was there in the tent.
Everything has the USB.
Yeah, everything now has USB, and this thing it's a really great way, and it's green. You're using.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, after you have your gum, usually you toss these things away.
Right.
But no, now you can, with a hacksaw and a little bit of hacksaw and a soldering iron, you can make yourself a little charger.
Excellent.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
More than welcome.
And we'll see you soon.
Sounds good.
Basically, there are two formats that are high definition. 720p and 1080p. There's also 1080i out there as a display, but that's really only used for CRT, and nobody should be buying a CRT at this point, so I'm just not going to acknowledge that it exists. The pixel count for 720p is 1280 by 768, and for 1080p it's 1920 by 1080. If you're going to have a high definition experience, the display must show at least that many pixels, unless you're a federal judge. Panasonic and many of the other plasma makers have been selling HDTVs. Well, they have been selling flat panel plasma sets with a resolution of 768 vertical, but only 1024 horizontal. It's still 16 by 9, okay? But it doesn't have as many pixels as it needs horizontally. They've actually, instead of using a square pixel, they've used a rectangular pixel, and they've stretched it out a little bit. This past winter, there was a suit saying Panasonic was committing fraud.
Hi, I'm with Dario from NYPC, and we're going to be talking about Java. Now, I don't think we're going to be talking about coffee.
No.
This is the real Java.
We're talking about Java, the programming language.
Okay, now, I know nothing about Java. I know a little bit about JavaScript, but this has nothing to do with that.
No. Historically, Java was introduced back in 1995, so Java is 12 years now. It's a programming language much akin to C++ or traditional object-oriented programming languages. And it's really for professionals with a computer sci background, really, to really make large-scale applications. The beauty of Java, the programming language, was its ability to, this introduction for the web browser back in '95 to run animations and little interactive things. This predates Flash, which we all know does video and
Sure, Flash is dominant out there now,
right,
but Java...
Java applets predates Flash.
Okay.
And in fact, I can show a little demo of what a Java applet is.
Let's do it. Because whether we know it or not, if we're on the internet, we're using Java.
Right. So I run a Java SIG, and we have a website called nycjava.net.
Okay.
And on this...
They're showing it right now.
On this website, just to demonstrate Java on the browser, there's a Java applet here running.
Right.
There's a little animation. If you tickle his nose, he just waves hello.
Oh.
It's just that's probably the earliest example of interactive animation back in 1995.
Okay.
So that's Java programming language interacting with the web browser, much like the Flash does today, but Flash has taken off and become more popular.
But Java is still popular, and obviously you do it.
Yes, and it's returning because of the pressures in the competition with Microsoft and Adobe. They felt that they have to focus back on the web browser. Their strength in the past 12 years has been on the server side. Mm-hmm. So managing
server side meaning not on my computer, but
right,
on the
managing the websites, the business part of websites, transactions and billing, e-commerce, basically.
All right. And you actually do the programming, so all your work is done kind of behind the scenes?
Yes, it's behind the scenes, and to clarify, JavaScript
Right.
is really a scripting language that's embedded inside your standard HTML page,
Right.
and it's not really related to Java, the programming language.
JavaScript is more client than server, right? It's not on...
Right. The history of JavaScript actually came from Netscape. They developed something called LiveScript.
Right.
And because at the time Java was being introduced and being included, Java applets, that is, being included with the browser, they felt if they named it JavaScript, it would also be marketed for both.
So they're on the coattails, they figured.
Exactly.
Right. And it actually worked a little bit.
But actually it has a technical name, it's the ECMA script.
Okay.
And in fact, that's the more standard, because to differentiate them, because they are really separate language. One is a scripting language and one is a programming language.
Okay. A programming language is different from the scripting, because a scripting
Right.
language, you have to do something to make it happen, I think, right? A programming language, you can program.
Generally, a programming language has several steps. A programmer has the source code.
Right.
He compiles it to byte code, which really is run inside an environment.
Okay.
And
But a JavaScript like creates a rollover, but nothing happens until you put the cursor
right, the
over it.
JavaScript, it doesn't require any pre-processing so that you can run it as an application.
Right, right. That's what I was
It's-
trying to say.
It's really add-ons to the actual HTML to allow for interactivity.
Right. Now, if you go to this SIG, do you have to be experienced? But I mean, if I went down there, and I know a little bit about Dreamweaver, I've built some websites and stuff, but I know, would I be way over my head if I went down to this SIG class?
You may be.
That's good to know. All right.
We cater towards all levels, beginners and professionals, but we're really focusing more on the programming language aspect,
Okay.
not the JavaScript scripting aspect.
Right.
Although they do interact in many ways. There's rich clients now that, and the fact that you can run Java on phones, for instance, allows a lot of interactivity between the browser side of things and the application server side of things.
So if you wanted to start out as a beginner before you went down to this SIG, where would you go? Can you learn online, or would you, go to this site, and do they have books to read?
The Java programming language has become basically, for comp sci students, the main first programming language they learn in college. It's much akin to the history, C++, Pascal, Fortran, along those lines of programming.
Right.
And now there's a move towards more functional programming, more scripting involved. So there's really a mashup of all these different technologies now that is applicable to not just web applications, but standalone applications, mobile applications.
Mobile, meaning your cell phones and,
Yes.
and all that kind of stuff. And who owns it?
Java was introduced by Sun Microsoft. However, Sun Microsoft has open sourced it. Open source means that they've given the source code to the public at large so they can modify it. They still generally control the direction of Java. And there's several editions. As I mentioned, there's an edition that runs inside the mobile devices. There's the enterprise edition for doing the back end, and the heavy e-commerce, for running Amazon, things like that.
For things like that. So actually, we wouldn't say it because it's for running
Right.
things like
And then
that.
there's the standard edition where you can write small applications that run on your desktop, or little applets like I showed that run on the web
Right.
browser.
Do you have anything else to show on the computer that would demonstrate it, or
Well,
just?
I just want to talk more about what our function is. As
Okay,
a,
please. What is that?
As a Java SIG. We're also known as a Java user group, and we're affiliated with Java.net. Java.net is a central location for all projects related to Java. That's where you find a listing of all the Java user groups around the world. And it's an amazing amount. In fact, New York City has 2 Java user groups. Technically, we're a Java user group as a Java SIG of NYPC, but there's also another user group called the New York Java SIG.com, which meets at Google. And they feature a lot of well-known speakers. We also have speakers. For instance, our next general meeting, which is usually the first Thursdays of every month.
Right.
We have an author of a Java book, EJB in action, and he's going
Is
to.
that the next general meeting?
Yes, we have general meetings and we have dedicated study groups.
Okay.
And what we like to focus on for the study groups is for beginners and professionals to get together in an informal way and study for certifications. Sun provides Sun's Java certifications for different levels of programming.
Oh.
And we also study, like, for instance, Java Enterprise, which is a study group that I run. And we just pick a book, we follow that, or we move from book to book. And it's very informal, but it's really hands-on.
How long have you been into it?
I've been programming since 1990, since the beginning of Java. So 12 years. A developer uses to program in Java. I am showing here a very popular IDE, integrated development environment, called Eclipse. Eclipse is a free integrated environment, so you can type in your Java code, compile it, test it, and run it on your server. There's actually another popular IDE called NetBeans, which Sun introduced, and it works very similarly. It has little wizards to allow you to get a head start on writing code, and it also it's a complete environment for testing, debugging, and running.
Well, like I said, I'm glad guys like you are out there, so we guys like me can actually surf the internet and think we're good.
Right. Well, if you go back to our webpage, we have, for this little Java applet, which is the simplest of code dating back to 1995 actually, we have the source code available on our site. So you can actually look at a very simple file and see what it takes to compile that, to integrate it in your website. And so you can do interactive environments using this Java technology, and it's not just Flash.
Right.
There's other technologies out there, and I think Java applets and Java effects. We'll see what happens in the future.
Okay. Well, Dario, I'm going to try to make it down there one time, but I'm telling you, it's good. I like going into a class sometime that is totally over my head, and this one's going to be over my head. But thank you very much for stopping in.
Thank you.